which is worse, the state of this country or those who blindly defend it despite all evidence to the contrary? You know the type, the ones who point to graphs and statistics to gaslight you and tell you that it's all in your head, that Ireland really is the best little country in the world, and if you think otherwise, it's your own fault for failing. I find these attitudes everywhere, both online and over the airwaves. Social media is full of examples. Hell, my own comment sections here on YouTube usually have a smattering of these types of comments too. So in my last video, I asked what has happened to Ireland. I pointed to quite a number of recent headlines to make the case that all is not well in our great little country and that we should not simply accept this as the status quo. The problems we face here are not unchangeable, they are not immovable, they are not something we should just put up with. And yet, there are still those people who will defend the Ireland of today and will gaslight and dismiss any and all criticism, branding those who speak up as moaners or complainers in the process. Now, I'm sure you know the type of gaslighting comments that I mean. They are all over social media, radio, panel shows, you name it. These comments can be broken down into a few categories. First, there's the I'm alright Jack brigade who are happy with the status quo and don't want to look past their own noses. Then there's the sure what are you complaining for, Ireland has always been awful types. And my personal favourite is the what are you going to do about it other than moaning types. They are certainly not unique to my videos, but to save myself some time and for the sake of convenience, I'm only going to reference some comments directed at me. So let's take a look. Majority of the people bitch and whine online and do nothing about it. What the f*** are you complaining about? You voted for this, you middle-class wankers. What would you do differently? Lots of whinging. Apart from a good old rant, why don't you actually present proposed solutions? Endless moaning. That's not millennial cynicism, just moaning. Now you've sized up the problem, what are you going to do about it besides moaning? So I think we can sense a theme here, right? Someone takes the time to point out the issues in our country and they get dismissed as being a moaner. And again, I'm just grabbing examples from my channel, but you see this sort of nonsense everywhere and directed at anyone who dares to ask questions or get angry at the incompetence and failures that we so often see from our government. So what, are we supposed to just pretend the issues don't exist? I'm sure Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil would absolutely love that. They'd love a nation of sheep like that who just shrug their shoulders when corruption and bad governance are shown up and say, ah well, sure it is what it is. I'm sure those nice lads and lassies in government will do the right thing if we just ignore it. What absolute nonsense. Why am I complaining? Because we have a massive f***ing surplus and no political will to make life better for ordinary people. What am I going to do about it? Not give a single solitary vote to any of the coalition partners or the Labour Party for that matter. I'm going to exercise my democratic right to vote and use that vote to hopefully enact some change for the better. And in the meantime, I'm going to keep highlighting the issues and attempt to make politics and how our country is run a little bit more accessible for ordinary people who are sick to death of it all. I'm going to keep talking about all the controversies to maybe provoke a conversation, to maybe make more people aware of the failures of this government. The more people speak out about the cronyism, the corruption, the incompetence and the failures of our government, the better in my view. It's always good to know that you are not alone in being frustrated with the many fuck-ups we see here in Ireland. Also, I have to laugh at the people who probably voted for one or more of the coalition parties themselves, trying to dismiss concerns by saying, you get what you vote for and you voted for this. No, I didn't vote for any member of the coalition, and nor did quite a large percentage of the population, but you keep telling yourself that. Funnier still is that there are plenty of Fianna Fáil voters who didn't vote for this shite either. How many Fianna Fáil voters feel betrayed by the party that swore they wouldn't go into government with lifelong rivals Fine Gael, only to do just that? Seriously, not many people voted for this particular incarnation of government, this devil's triangle of shite. But here we are, and all we can do is vote again when the time comes and hope that more people want to change. So to continue with the what are you going to do about it theme, there's this one. I'm an Irish voter and possibly in the same constituency as yourself. I've no doubt you're going to go for election to show how much better you can do, and good for you. I just love patronising comments, don't you? Will you please let me know your name and constituency? Nothing as bad as the old hurlers on the ditch. Put on the jersey there and pick up a hurley. Now, I always laugh when I see these types of comments. So what? We can't have critics now, is that it? Oh, you didn't like the latest summer blockbuster, no? Well, go make your own movie. Only then can you comment or criticise. I mean, seriously, a second's worth of critical thinking is all that it takes to avoid posting nonsense like this. Newsflash, people can complain about things without being experts or putting on the jersey. It's called having an opinion, and everyone has one. Then we've got those who think Ireland is the bee's knees. More people working than ever in the history of the state, more speaking the native language, most popular sports are native, consistently ranked one of the least corrupt countries in the world's most famous beer, best pubs, most progressive tax system, highest rates of third level education. None of these things happen in a vacuum, they're at least correlated to reasonably good governments. Okay, so this one is a fairly good example of what I usually see on Twitter. People quoting random statistics that show Ireland in a favourable light. All that's missing from this one is a graph of some kind. Look at this graph! But luckily YouTube comments don't allow images. So where to begin? Well, first of all, I've never once said we can't or haven't gotten things right. I doubt there's many out there who'd make that claim. But not all of these things are true or relevant now, are they? World's most famous beer? You mean the one that's now owned by a British multinational, yeah? More people working than ever before and the highest rates of third level education in the world. Wonderful. Now, how many of those employed and educated people can afford to live independently, can afford a home, a family? How many of those highly educated brains have been drained? How many exported to countries that appreciate them? And don't make me laugh about the corruption index. Of course Ireland scores brilliantly on the corruption scale when no one is ever prosecuted, or hell, even held accountable for it. Is corruption even illegal in this country? You wouldn't think so with the amount of shite that gets let slide here. So if it's never officially reported, then we can never really be proven to be corrupt, can we? This is the gaslighting nonsense, the cherry-picking of statistics to show Ireland in a good light, when the reality for ordinary people is not remotely comparable. Graphs and statistics of cherry-picked data that only show the good and never the bad. But is it any wonder people quote idealised statistics to gaslight people when that is exactly what our political leaders do all the bloody time? Varadkar telling us that rents are much the same elsewhere. Varadkar telling us to feel sorry for the billionaires who are all fur coat and no knickers. Varadkar questioning how many families visit food banks. Various ministers and leaders telling us they've built a record amount of social housing. You know, in the cherry-picked time frame, that is. So when the leaders and politicians do it, it gives their supporters license to do the same. Hence the graph boys and sycophants on Twitter and elsewhere. Then we've got those who know Ireland is in a bad place, but seem to think that that's okay. Oh dear, did the millennial think the real world was like the Disney Channel you grew up watching? Newsflash, this country has always been a kip. For the record, I watched The Den, the Children's Channel, and then Nickelodeon like any other good Irish millennial. Now this is a common refrain online. Ireland has always been a kip. Right, I'm not going to argue that. Ireland has always had its problems. That is very true. But here's the thing with this sort of rhetoric. Why the fuck should that mean that we just accept it? Why on earth should that mean that we allow it to continue to be a kip? We have a massive budget surplus, a massive tax take. So explain to me why we can't fix the issues and make Ireland a better place to live. If the will was there, the HSE could be fixed to provide excellent, first-class, patient-led care to everyone, regardless of socio-economic standing. If the will was there, the housing sector could be fixed so that homes are affordable and not viewed simply as a commodity or an asset to be hoarded. We could stop propping up house prices to keep paper wealth high. We could do all of this and more if the will was there. But the will is not there, is it? Not when those in power want to protect their wealth and the wealth of their friends. Not when people bend over and take it and then defend it. And before you say, no, you're dreaming in Disney again, it can't be done. We live in a country where Dennis O'Brien still operates freely. We live in a country where Bertie Ahern is eyeing up a run for the Oris. We live in a country where Sean Quinn still has his McMansion. We live in a country where Niall Collins is still a Minister for State. Anything is possible in this country, so why can't it be something good for a change? And yeah, it's idealistic, but so fucking what? Shouldn't we be striving towards idealism? Now, I don't believe for 1 second that we'll get there, but shouldn't we at least try? We have the world and its knowledge at our fingertips on the excellent rectangles in our pockets, and we can't tap into that knowledge to attempt to solve our problems? If other countries can do it, why can't we? Other countries have far superior healthcare with smaller budgets than our HSE. If they can do it, why can't we? We can. That's the point. The political will just isn't there. Finland has pretty much solved and eradicated homelessness. They put the hard work in, the groundwork in, knew it wasn't going to change overnight, and did the work anyway. And look at them now. A world leader in tackling homelessness. What is stopping Ireland from doing the same? Self-serving property interests, that's what. So no, I'm not asking for Disneyland or Utopia. I'm asking for things that are immensely achievable. And this type of comment always gets me wondering, don't people want Ireland, and indeed the world, to be a better place for their children, for their children's children? Shouldn't each generation improve on the last? What is it about some people that they feel that if they have to struggle through life, then everyone else should too, and things should never get better for anyone else because life wasn't fair to them, so it shouldn't be fair for anyone else either? I just don't get it. Ireland has always been a kip. Okay, sure, but why are you happy for it to stay like that? When I hear this moaning propaganda, it makes me wonder what countries in the world people believe are better run than Ireland. All countries have problems. What countries would people suggest are better run? Other countries do some things better than Ireland, like I've just said. We should emulate the good. How is this hard to grasp? Are people honestly that beaten down that they just accept whatever scraps the government toss to them from our taxes? And the best one for last. What a ridiculously stupid, negative and ill-informed rant this video is. Go anywhere in the world, anywhere, it doesn't matter, anywhere and come back to Ireland, you'll see that this country is the best, yes, the best country in the world to live. There's nowhere better. What I'm saying to you is that in this video all we've got is a stupid, ill-informed, narcissistic big mouth who hasn't a clue of what she's on about, jumping onto an imaginary bandwagon, and ranting on and on and on. And the only reason she's doing this is because nowadays social media makes it easy to twist stuff and create propaganda like this. There's that, and she quite obviously likes the sound of her own voice too. Instead of putting out rubbish like this, why don't you go out into the world and educate yourself? Go inform yourself, find out about reality. Fin out about people who have massive problems to overcome every single day, the kind that don't exist in Ireland. Until then, shut up, you fool. Go and find out about people who have massive problems to overcome every single day, you say. You mean like the 12,827 homeless people in Ireland? You mean like the hundreds of thousands of hidden homeless in Ireland? You mean like the record 3,904 children who are homeless in Ireland? You mean like the 100,000 children who are on a waiting list for first-time intervention in primary care in Ireland? You mean like the children in Ireland who were implanted with cheap metal springs? You mean like the Irish child with one of those cheap springs breaking through her ribs and through her skin? Do they not exist in Ireland? Did I make them up? Or are they not massive problems to overcome every single day, in your opinion? Now, I just had to show that particular comment as it was truly one of the most bizarre examples of patronising, gaslighting, dismissive nonsense. Propaganda. That's what you're dismissed as if you point out facts. Long-term subscribers and viewers of this channel will know that I am diligent about providing the screenshots and proofs that form my opinions. I do not conjure the shit I'm reacting to out of thin air. And I will continue to point out these facts, even if it makes the Ireland is perfect the way it is apologists uncomfortable. There are plenty of examples of people in this country struggling day in and day out as a direct result of government inaction, government incompetence, government failures, and straight up government policy that is working as intended. All while one of the richest countries in the world sits back and hoards its wealth while pretending everything is just fantastic. The absolute state of this country and those who blindly defend it. So what do you think of those defenders of Ireland, those who can't see the problems despite all the evidence to the contrary? Do they have a point? Should we stop moaning? Or should we be striving for better, generation on generation? Should we be calling out the endless failures and inadequacies of our government? Do you think we can change Ireland for the better? Do you think it's possible? Or am I just a Disney dreamer? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified of new content. If you want to support the channel, you can now buy me a coffee, which is greatly appreciated, and a huge thank you to those that already have. You can also follow me on Twitter. Until next time, slán go fóill.